This is what bomb testing in North America did during from 1955 to 1963, when bomb testing ended. It caused a 50% decline in the fishing catch in the North Atlantic between 1955 and 1963. That's 8 years. 50% decline. And this was correlated with increases in strontium-90 from the bomb testing that was measured in milk in Norway. This is Norwegian government data, and the strontium-90 levels were Norwegian data. So the more strontium-90, the greater the decline in the fishing catch, and it was proportional. Now, what is so great about this slide, it proves that it's not pesticides that are causing a decline in the fishing catch. It's radiation. But look at that over recovery to twice the levels of fishing catch prior to bomb testing. And that means that as soon as you turn off the radiation, there's immediate response that increases in births or hatching in fish can occur very, very, very quickly. And then these populations come back into their balance with the other parts of the environment, the ecology there. So if we turn it off, there will be an immediate response that guarantees that life will go on. But if we don't turn it off, the Pacific shows you what will happen. This is the Pacific fishing decline of 65% from 1950 to about 1963, and it never recovered because Japan started building nuclear power plants with all these poisonous emissions, radioactive emissions, and also other countries, China, India, Pakistan, and France continued nuclear testing after 1963. So if you don't turn it off, the problem just continues, and the damage becomes genetic. And once it's genetic, it's irreversible. And it's passed on to all future generations, where it is expressed in unpredictable and really very alarming ways. That's really what Gordon MacDonald was warning about. We're playing with technologies that we really don't know what's going to happen. But Dr. Muller, who received the Nobel Prize in 1946 for his studies on the effects of ionizing radiation on fruit flies, before 1920, he knew all of this. He said, for every birth defect that is expressed externally, there are at least 10 more mutations internally. And so what we're seeing is only the tip of the iceberg of the damage that has actually occurred. And if an egg or a sperm has damaged DNA, when they unite into the first cell of a new organism, that DNA damage is expressed in every cell of that new organism and in every offspring from that successfully breeding organism. It's in the animal world and in the human world. Uh-oh. What? Yeah. Now this is what bomb testing did to America. These are the combined radioactive rain out and snow out of bomb tests in the United States between 1952 and 1963. This is measured on the ground right after each bomb test, and within a year that was cycled all through the environment because of air circulation, water circulation, and other factors. And everybody in the United States between 1952 and 1963 was actually internally exposed to radiation. So we've survived one nuclear war, and we will survive this nuclear war, but there will be a lot of damage that happens. And it's so imperative, it's so important for people to understand how to protect themselves and their children, and to be much more aware of what ionizing radiation is doing in our environment. The Japanese, because of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings, they developed many, many ways to treat radiation without even having access to modern technologies, medical technologies. For instance, the doctors, when they didn't have blood to give blood transfusions, they used seaweed. They used the juice of seaweed to put into people's veins to keep them alive. It's seawater that we evolved from. It's basically what our blood is, and they did miracle things. Miso soup is another very, very good food. So if you can go on an Asian diet, or at least include it in your diet, you are doing things that are protecting your health. In fact, when President Eisenhower, General Eisenhower, was President of the United States, it was raining in Washington, D.C. And he started to go outside, and his advisors said, no, 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 General Eisenhower, don't go outside today. He said, well, why not? And they said, it's raining. And he said, well, what's wrong with the rain? And they said, oh, it's the nuclear bomb test. Radiation is, raining out today, and it wouldn't be wise for you to go outside. He said, it's here? They said, yeah. The government knew very well what they were doing. They did it anyway. These are diseases caused by free radicals. Free radicals are produced in greater numbers from ionizing radiation than any other source. In fact, Dr. Leuren, who studied the effects of radiation after the hydrogen bomb test by Russia in the Arctic, he said that ionizing radiation is 10 to 100 million times more damaging to organisms in their developmental stages than the strongest chemical. Now, when chemicals are present, chemicals and radiation interact synergistically and multiply the effects of each other. It's not 1 + 1 is 2, it's 1 + 1 equals 10 or 20 or whatever. So chemicals and radiation are even worse together. And one example is the Navajo miners. The Navajo miners who worked in the uranium mines who did not smoke had lower lung cancer rates than the Navajo miners who smoked and worked in the uranium mines. And that's because the chemicals in the tobacco and the uranium in the mining dust multiplied the effects of each other. So I'm going to read these diseases. These are the diseases, the chronic illnesses that have increased so much since 1945 in Americans. Americans were so healthy before the atomic age. Arterial sclerosis, hypertension, diabetes, ischemia, reperfusion, chronic inflammatory diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, lung damage, and the adult respiratory distress syndrome, asthma, cystic fibrosis, oxidative stress and cancer, a complex relationship, oxidative stress and ischemic or traumatic brain injury, oxidative stress in Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, other neurodegenerative diseases, Down syndrome, multiple sclerosis, neuronal ceroid lipofuscinosis, Huntington's disease, Friedreich's ataxia, tardive dyskinesia, prion diseases, that's mad cow disease. HIV infection, mycoplasma, and that's oxidative stress and viral infections, which it's because of immune system damage. Now, I have a friend who is in the Japanese parliament, and I got him married to my best friend in Japan. He has HIV and hemophilia, and when he was 10 years old, he only had hemophilia, which is inherited. He and 3,000 other patients in Japan used blood products for their hemophilia from 2 American pharmaceutical companies. These 2 pharmaceutical companies developed a new HIV drug, and they wanted a new market. So they put HIV in all of the blood products that they sent to Japan, and they created a whole new market. He filed a lawsuit, class action lawsuit, for more than 3,000 very seriously ill people in Japan. And he did it for them because they couldn't do it for themselves. It took 8 years. His mother helped him. His father divorced his mother because of it and the stress, but they won the lawsuit. And he came to my house with my friend over Christmas to New Year's a couple of years ago, and I had to watch this beautiful young man who kept telling me I shouldn't even be alive. And he was doing 2 medications every day, all day long. My whole refrigerator was full of it. And I convinced them to get married. I sat and talked to them every day. I sat on the floor and talked to them about things they didn't really want to talk about to each other. And they went back to Japan, and they announced their engagement in the Japanese parliament on my birthday in my honor. And we have a friend who's a very wonderful priest who serves the Emperor of Japan. And he advised the parliament member to start doing Tai Chi. And this newly married couple do Tai Chi every morning. Tai Chi balances the energy in your body, and it restores energy to areas where the energy is malfunctioning. He no longer needs HIV or hemophilia medicine. That's the miracle of trying alternative medicine and indigenous technology, because it works, it's free, it's non-invasive, and it frees you from the burden of disease and poor health. It's